Octavian, later known as Augustus, rose to power during one of the most turbulent times in Roman history. When Julius Caesar was assassinated in 44 BCE, Rome was plunged into chaos. Senators who conspired against Caesar believed they were saving the Republic, but instead they unleashed uncertainty and civil war. At the center of this storm was a young man, barely 19, sickly and often underestimated, Gaius Octavius, Caesar's adopted son and heir, chosen in the dictator's will. Overnight, Octavian inherited not only Caesar's name and wealth, but also his enemies. Many doubted him. He was untested, lacking military experience, and far younger than rivals such as Mark Antony. But Octavian possessed a rare combination of patience, calculation, and quiet determination. He began by securing loyalty. Knowing that Rome's power lay not in speeches, but in legions, Octavian reached out to Caesar's veterans. These men had fought under Caesar's banner, and carried loyalty to the name. Slowly, Octavian gathered support, promising rewards and honoring the memory of his adoptive father. At the same time, he carefully presented himself as a humble servant of Rome, modest in manner, respectful of the Senate, and never openly claiming kingship. Yet behind this mask of humility, he built his strength. The turning point came with the formation of the Second Triumvirate in 43 BCE, a political alliance between Octavian, Mark Antony, and Lepidus. Together they wielded extraordinary powers, effectively overruling the Senate and dividing Rome's territories among themselves. Their first objective was revenge against Caesar's assassins, Brutus and Cassius. At the Battle of Philippi in 40 BCE, the triumvirs crushed the conspirators, and both Brutus and Cassius took their own lives. With Caesar's murderers gone, Octavian's position grew stronger, but the alliance was never stable. Power shared among ambitious men cannot remain balanced for long. Mark Antony, seasoned and charismatic, seemed at first the more powerful of the two. He commanded great armies, held influence in the East, and forged a passionate alliance with Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt. Together, Antony and Cleopatra dreamed of a vast empire stretching from Rome to Alexandria. For many Romans, this was alarming. Octavian seized the moment to turn public opinion against Antony. He painted Antony as a loyal Roman, but as a man bewitched by a foreign queen, betraying his homeland for love and luxury. Through speeches, propaganda, and clever maneuvering, Octavian positioned himself as the defender of Roman tradition and Antony as a traitor to it. The conflict came to a head in 31 BCE at the naval battle of Actium. Octavian's forces, under the command of his brilliant general Agrippa, decisively defeated Antony and Cleopatra's fleet. Their forces scattered, their hopes of conquest destroyed. Antony and Cleopatra fled to Egypt, where, a year later, both would meet tragic ends. Cleopatra, by suicide, and Antony by his own blade. With their deaths, Octavian stood alone as master of Rome. Yet Rome still despised kingship. Its people remembered the expulsion of Tarq when the proud centuries earlier, and the Republic's hatred of monarchy ran deep. Octavian understood this and used it to his advantage. In 27 BCE, he performed a masterstroke of political theatre. He appeared before the Senate and offered to resign his extraordinary powers, presenting himself as a humble servant of the Republic. But the Senate, fearing renewed chaos without him, begged him to remain in control. In gratitude, they granted him a new title, Augustus, meaning the revered one. Outwardly, the Republic still lived, but in truth Augustus now ruled as Rome's first emperor. He was careful to avoid the title of king, calling himself princeps, the first citizen. This allowed him to rule with supreme authority, while maintaining the illusion of republican traditions. As Augustus, he reshaped Rome. He secured the loyalty of the legions, established new laws, reformed taxation, and encouraged trade. He initiated massive building projects, declaring that he had found Rome a city of brick and left it a city of marble. Under his rule, the Pax Romana Roman peace began, bringing decades of stability to lands that had known almost a century of civil war. Roads connected distant provinces, aqueducts supplied cities, and Roman culture flourished. The arts thrived under his patronage, with poets such as Virgil and Horace celebrating Rome's greatness. Augustus' genius was not just in war, but in governance, in creating systems that would outlast him. Despite his power, Augustus never forgot the lessons of his rise. He cloaked his authority in modesty, maintaining the forms of republican government, even as he controlled them. The Senate still met, but its decisions largely followed his will. Elections still occurred, but the candidates were those he favored. He rewarded loyalty generously, but dealt ruthlessly with betrayal. He cultivated the image of a leader devoted to duty, family, and Rome itself. In public, he lived modestly compared to the extravagance of Antony and Cleopatra, reinforcing his reputation as a leader who put Rome above personal indulgence. In the final years of his reign, Augustus focused on ensuring stability for the empire after his death. He carefully arranged succession, eventually naming his stepson Tiberius as his heir. By the time Augustus died in 14 CE, he had ruled Rome for more than 40 years. The Senate declared him a god, raising him to divine status. The sickly, underestimated youth, who had once seemed an unlikely successor to Caesar, had not only survived, but created a new order that would endure for centuries. His reign marked the end of the Roman Republic, and the birth of the Roman Empire, a transformation so profound that it shaped the destiny of Western civilization. Octavian's life was a story of patience, strategy, and vision. He was not the strongest general, nor the most charismatic leader, yet he understood the art of power better than any of his rivals. Where others rushed, he waited. Where others boasted, he concealed. Where others fell to passion, he held to discipline. And in this restraint lay his strength. From the blood of civil war, he built stability. From the ashes of the Republic, he forged an empire. And from the doubts of his youth, he rose to become Augustus, the first emperor of Rome, whose shadow would stretch across history for 2,000 years. Thus ended the rise of Octavian, the man who became Augustus, the first emperor of Rome. Paused south, but behind every emperor stands a general, and none was greater than Marcus Agrippa. Pause 3 South. Join us next time as we uncover his story. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more history brought to life.